up, Primals? Liver King here, talking to you about my Memorial Day workout. How I honor Memorial Day, those that gave and paid the ultimate sacrifice so that we can be here today. So my film crew's here, social media is here, right? And they're saying, let's do Murph. And I'm thinking to myself, holy shit. You want to do Murph? I remember the last time I did Murph, I said, this will be the last time I do Murph. And so I said, what else can I do? So I'm thinking, I just trained Super Barbarian just 2 days prior. I just did max effort lifts this morning. And there's 100% chance of rain in the forecast. I'm thinking this is perfect. Primals, this is Barbarian, and this is how we honor Memorial Day. Because when we do Barbarian, we're honoring our early ancestors, our recent ancestors, so that we can be here today, so that we can enjoy the spoils of the modern world, like the freedoms we enjoy today, like sharing love and laughter with friends and family. This is why we do Barbarian. So what I recall about the rain is it starts drizzling, and I'm thinking I can protect the kettlebells for a little while by just keeping my hands on the kettlebells when I rest. And this I'm thinking is going to work for a little while, but then the rain starts coming down. And I start thinking to myself, holy shit, it's raining a little bit too much. If I add chalk, the chalk is going to turn to like this thick soup that makes it even worse. It makes it into like a paste. So this is the worst thing that you can do. So now what I'm thinking about trying to do is the rain's coming down even more, and you can't protect the kettlebells anymore, and you can't rest in that position anymore because the back is just remains lit. So you need to take your hands off that kettlebell. The kettlebells are exposed. They become wet. They're saturated. Now you still got residue of chalk on your hands. There's some residue of chalk on the kettlebells. So I just remember reaching down into a puddle, trying to wash off my hands as best as I could with a puddle, getting little pebbles, little specks of dirt, little pine needles on there, and then trying to take that same sort of puddle of water and wash off the kettlebells so I could get a semi-clean grip, because the traction of your hand with water against the kettlebell is geometrically more effective for a grip than with a residue of that chalk paste. So I remember picking that up thinking, thank God, this is working, this is going. And maybe a couple of sets later into Barbarian, maybe 10, 15 sets later into Barbarian, the sky opens up. Now there's no amount of protecting the kettlebells. It's just a matter of going until your grip is about to get to failure. And of course, you don't want to go all the way to failure each time, but I would say I was probably within a step or two of grip failure with almost every effort. Felt like a max effort set. I don't know if maybe you've heard me repeat this several times. I think every time I do Barbarian, I think I always say, this is the hardest Barbarian I've ever done. But oh my God, this is what I believe of this one, is this is the hardest one I've ever done. And I'm sure that the workload that I had building up to this, training Super Barbarian just 2 days prior, doing max effort lifts earlier that day, not eating anything prior to doing the Barbarian, I'm sure all this played a role. But what I know for certain is all the pollen that had covered the entire path, once that got wet, it was almost like a glue, like somebody was holding the sled back. And I looked back at the sled just to double check it, just to make sure there's only 120 pounds on top of this sled. And I'm thinking, once I get past the concrete and I get to the asphalt, it's going to get easier, because the concrete is always the hardest part. I get to the asphalt and nothing's sliding, and it feels like I'm pulling 200 pounds on top of that sled. And I just remember every step being so much harder than what I ever recall a previous barbarian ever feeling like. And I remember shaking my head like, I'm going through this. I'm going through this. And what we need to do is honor every step, every ounce of effort for those that paid the price so that we can be here today. Yeah, there's something different. Normally when I do Barbarian, the thing is, Super Barbarian is a completely different experience. The time that it takes to do Super Barbarian, there's not as much of an intensity doing Super Barbarian. Doing Barbarian, there's this incredible intensity to it, and my mind goes to the hardest things that I've ever been through in my life. And normally I think of my boys, I think of the tough times that they've been through, I think of the times that we've almost lost them. I think of something that Rad went through a couple of years ago, which we felt like we were losing him, and those things drive me. I think about, I would rather go through this pain in all aspects of it, right? Because this requires everything of you. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. This is a spiritual experience. So I'm thinking about my dad. I'm thinking about again those that gave their lives, while serving to give us our freedoms so that we can be here today. And as I'm thinking about my dad who lost his life while he was serving, I'm thinking about all the people, that have lost their lives while serving so that we can be here today. And why do we wait for one day out of the year to honor those people, right? And this is part of the reason why I give my Saturday Barbarian speech. We do this to honor our early ancestors and our recent ancestors and all of that ancestral heritage in between so that we can be here today, so that we can enjoy the spoils of the modern world. Everything that's happened today happened for a reason, right? We're doing this to honor our recent ancestors, right? We're doing this with honor. And this is not about me. Like, fuck me, right? This is not about being disappointed in myself. Every element that came into play to make this harder than any other barbarian, it happened for all the perfect reasons. It happened in harmony with life, right? So that we can have the deepest struggle, because the deepest struggles that we overcome produce, the most profound strength. And so the strength in that moment went from I'm no longer disappointed in my performance to what a fucking honor, what a privilege this is to be capable, to be able to do this, to be here today, to enjoy the freedoms that we have, to strap on this weight, to hold these kettlebells, to be capable, to do Barbarian. And this is for Memorial Day. And so I now remember going from shaking my head in disappointment to shaking my head and let's do this. This is for you. This is why we're here. I really wish that happened earlier, but I didn't have much to finish. I really wanted to finish strong and no longer feeling any sense of remorse or disappointment. Now I'm just feeling proud as hell to have this privilege to honor Memorial Day in this way. And I'm proud as hell of how I finished. That's what I remember about finishing, bringing it in.